Well, hey there, you're on the internet, I have some free time, and welcome to the Triple N Network, where all you newbie nib nerds can find all the news you'll need. Let's look at an ink today, shall we? Now, today's ink I have in sample form, and it's by DeAtramentis. It's here just as Conan Doyle, but it's actually Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. And funny enough, he doesn't have a compound last name. Conan's a middle name. Few people realize that, but yeah, it's the last name of his godfather. But anyways, as you can see, it's sort of... Okay, it starts out a very simple, like, bright carmine red, and then literally once it's been on paper for like 2 or 3 days, it turns into sort of the red of like wool socks. You know, it like loses that vibrancy. It almost takes on just the teeniest little hint of brown. But yeah, it was... all these tests were done in this Kaweco Sport with a medium nib. It's very standard, you know, haven't altered, it's not very wet or whatever. I thought I'd compare it to some other inks. Here's Doyle right here, next to Black Swan and English Roses by Noodlers, Diamond's Monaco Red, Ackermann's Garuda Rude, DeAtramentis Scented Cola, which you can see is a bit more brown, Alamo Twilight, which is definitely more brown, Graf von Faber-Castell's Garnet, which is a bit more maroony, and Diamond Rustic Brown, which is just a bit darker, but has that same, like, is it red, is it brown thing going on, and Noodler's Red Black, which is sort of like brown with red undertones. But I also thought I'd compare it to some other ones, so here's Doyle right here, Diamond Poppy Red, DeAtramentis Thomas Alva Edison, DeAtramentis Cherry, Noodler's Black Swan and English Roses again, Gerabon's L'Homme de Cassis, Diamond Passion Red, and Diamond Hope Pink. It's not like any of those. And then, just because it seemed kind of odd, compared it again, and here's English Roses again, Diamond Golden Brown, Roi and Klinger Sepia, DeAtramentis Sahara Gray, which is a light green, DeAtramentis Jane Austen, Noodler's V-Mail Burma Road Brown, and Private Reserve Sepia, which is yellow. Yeah. Anyways, chromatography. As you can see, it kind of just looks red here. I mean, it's like the barest... I mean, it's like a hazy... I don't know, like brain sensory thing where it's like almost brown here, but like just the barest bit, so yeah. But then here's where I let it dry, which is not how you're supposed to do it, but as you can see there's really no difference at all. So it doesn't imply a lot of water fastness. Top down in density, Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. And, okay, I feel like I should address the elephant in the room. DeAtramentis does something that I've come to call DeAtramentis syndrome, which is when you leave it in a pen for more than just a couple of days, the behavior takes a nosedive. So when I actually really like Arthur Conan Doyle. In fact, on my last trip, I read all the novel-length Sherlock Holmes, and you know, I've read what is it, his Professor Challenger and all that. So yeah, I like this guy, so I wanted to sort of show the ink at its best. So this ink was not even in this pen for 2 days, and yet it still had some problems. As you can see, it shades. It took 8 seconds to dry, which in a medium nib on this paper is not too bad. But, so I circled it in green to try and draw the eye, but there's feathering. It's there. And it's also there at the T, and also there in the D. I don't know if I can bring my camera in that close, but yeah, it's particularly at the edges. I mean, you know, like stays at the edge, but still it's something to be aware of. This is actually, no, that wasn't true. When I was writing the test, I was thinking of another ink, a different DeAtramentis ink that had been in a pen in 4 days. But yeah, I said it looks slightly thin and watery, but it doesn't now. I mean, maybe it needs to like cure in the paper, but yeah, it shades, but that's about it. Water fastness is not great. Dyed the page a bit. Most of it's gone. The tiniest bit is there, but that's all. But yeah, no bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen. All very simple in that regard. Next is Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, where again, you still get some shading. It took 7 seconds to dry, but again, we got feathering, which is not something I like to see on Rhodia. You see that? Again, all throughout here I circled it in green. But yeah, yeah, it's. I mean, this isn't what I like to see, but as I said, there were some few areas of very near bleed, and then I corrected and said more than a few. The bright light is kind of making it hard to see, but all along here, you see. I mean, even with the bright light, you can see some of it there. And you can see a bit of it there. But yeah, and then in the water test it did come through, which is just kind of shocking. But yeah, not the best performance. There's no spread, no echo, no sheen. But yeah, again, the water test not great. Tiniest, barest bit there dyed the page, but that would be a serious chore to recover. Next is Tomoe River Paper, where it took 17 seconds to dry, which seemed like quite a leap from 7 and 8 seconds. But Tomoe River is known for extending dry times because it is so hydrophobic. Because of the long dry times, it sort of like allowed the ink to pool, which sort of kept it from shading much. But there is some, as you can see. But yeah, there is some echo because this paper is so darn thin. And it's not a super light ink. I'd say it's like a medium dark brown. But yeah, it's, yeah, there's no bleed, no feather, no spread, no sheen. All that stuff is, very good. Tomoe River loves to let ink just slide away when you add more water, and it really did. There's just the teeniest little ghost left behind. But yeah, here, wonderful performance. Not so much everywhere else. World's worst 20-pound copier paper. Okay, I'm going to bring this in because we need a comparison. Do you see the increase in line width? How much broader the line got? That's how severe the spread is. I'd say this is a European broad for sure. Maybe even, do they make double broads in Japanese brand pens? I don't think I've ever seen one. But anyways, there is no shading. The color remains largely the same, which is kind of nice. A lot of times on more absorbent papers, some of the vibrancy gets robbed. 1 second to dry. I don't know why I started circling where there's feathering, because literally it is everywhere, which is probably why I gave up very quickly. But yeah, yeah, there's feathering, there's a lot of spread, there's bleed in spots, but spots all over. Like, do you see that? Yeah, not great. Water test got kind of explodey, dyed the page. Not ideal. Next is Mead Notebook Paper, where it did a bit better, but still not great. 2 seconds to dry. Here I started to circle the feathering again. But here it's not so, I mean, I don't know if it's, I mean, here it kind of looks like feathers, but throughout it's mostly just that intense woolliness. And there is some spread, but it's not nearly as bad as it was on the copier paper. It's pretty minor. But yeah, water test, this paper tends to hate water anyway, so it did kind of feather and explode, but it could be worse. There is some very near bleed in some severe cases, but mostly it's just very intense show through, and then the dots, which tends to be the case with this paper as well, very nearly came through. Now, lastly is Moleskine notebook paper, but I hope this will come through on camera. There's like this distinct change in color. It looks a lot more, like I even say it here, it looks like an ineffectively washed out blood stain. It's icky, and yeah, the only word I have for it is icky. It's like a reddish brown bleh. But yeah, it, severe feathering. It creates like a weird texture looking thing going on. Yeah, not great. And this is a medium nib, So, you know, it's nothing extreme, and it didn't behave too well. It actually came through the paper in many, many tiny spots. But yeah, water test, feathered, exploded. Didn't dye the page, but that would be a heck of a chore to recover. So, yeah, there you go. There's DeAtramentis, Sir Arthur Ignatius Conan Doyle. Wonderful author. Not so great ink. Yeah, even it being pretty darn fresh didn't do it any favors. So, I mean, it's a nice color. You know, I mean, it looks like red wool socks, if that's your thing. So, yeah, for your consideration from the Triple N Network. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching. Bye.